I want to give a special shout out to my patron, Gloomy, who suggested this video topic. And I want to go ahead and shout out my other patrons, RelentlessKaijuFan, rosedotmov, and Whirly. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Ever heard of Kenji Saito? My man was a software engineer for Platinum Games, working on the Beautiful Joe and Bayonetta series. In 2013, he was the director on a little game, independent, maybe you haven't heard of it, called Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This game was the dopest shit back in the day, and even had a bit of a modern resurgence in popularity a while back. MGR has some of the most satisfying hack and slash gameplay I've ever experienced. The flow of combat was nut-bustingly good. So take Kenji, Platinum Games, and Generation 1 Transformers. Mix them all together, and you're met with 2015's Transformers Devastation. You guys really had to be there to understand why this game's release was so monumental. Activision really fumbled with their previous Transformers game, Rise of the Darkspark. The last movie, Age of Extinction, is regarded by many to be the worst film in the series. The cartoons at the time were dreadful, and due to major budget cuts, the toys weren't impressing anyone. It was a terrible time to be a Transformers fan. Thankfully, we were given at least one major win, in the form of Devastation. Going back to basics, Devastation is stylized directly after the original 80s cartoon and has a gorgeous cel-shaded look. Its storyline is also pretty close to those old Saturday morning cartoons. Megatron wants to terraform Earth into a new Cybertron, and you have to stop him. But it's a lot of the character interactions that elevate the game. The story was written by IDW comics writer Andy Schmidt, who worked on some of the greatest Transformers comics of all time. Elements of those stories would even be incorporated into the game, mainly adding backstory involving antagonist Nova Prime. To accompany the brilliant writing, most of the original series cast have reprised their roles. Of course, the always iconic Peter Cullen and Frank Welker return as Optimus and Megatron respectively. Just the dialogue exchanges between these two really show how much the writing of this game is an improvement over the original show.
Megatron, what is the meaning of this?
Optimus, come to save the day, I presume?
I am here to stop you from destroying the city.
Stop me? Oh, Prime, you have no idea what you're really up against, do you? Who is really behind this?
This is our home now, Megatron. We should respect it.
No matter, Prime. I have no interest in destroying Earth, but I'm not opposed to making a few, shall we say, improvements?
Platinum Games are known for spectacle, and Devastation delivers on absolute eye candy. We already mentioned the cel shading, but there's more to it than that. The particle effects, UI elements, and environments. This is a gorgeous looking game, but what good are visuals if the game isn't fun? Thankfully, Devastation is a blast. Movement is super snappy, and there's such a flow to attacking enemies that after a while it all just comes naturally. And soon enough, you'll be taking down those giant combiners like it's nothing. These are a highlight for me. There's a bunch of bosses in the game against standard Decepticons, but these Shadow of the Colossus ass fights are my favorite. But of course, how could I forget to mention the final confrontation with Megatron? He and Optimus exchange words during the battle that ultimately leads them to fighting in outer space. That trademark Platinum Games flair is on full display here, and it's visually one of my favorite fight scenes in the entire Transformers franchise.
Center of my universe, or is it not the heart of yours?
Cybertron is about all life. Destruction. To keep Cybertron on life support. There must be another way.
But hold on, because we still have to talk about the music. And they got some huge names to work on this. Mainly, Tetsuya Shibata, who's worked on tons of Capcom games like DMC, Monster Hunter, and Darkstalkers. And Vince DiCola, the composer for the original '86 Transformers movie. They crafted some excellent tunes that have been living rent-free in my head for nearly a decade. If I was to think of any complaints with the game, it would have to be the length. Devastation only takes a few hours to beat. When I first played it, I went through it all in one sitting. This leads to my second issue. You can't play as Decepticons. This would have probably doubled game length, and would have fixed my only two problems with the game. Transformers Devastation is a solid action-packed game with satisfying gameplay and a really fun style. After just a few levels, I promise you'll have a hard time putting it down. If you can even pick it up, that is. See, Activision's licensing deal with Hasbro ended in 2017, so this and every other Transformers game they made were pulled from digital storefronts. This really hurts because Devastation's endgame had some really cool teasers for a potential sequel. But alas, it was never meant to be. After this, the only thing we'd get in terms of Transformers video games were some truly subpar TV show tie-in games, and the current Transformers Reactivate, which is going through development hell. Devastation isn't hard to find though. If you're looking to play on Xbox, that can be the cheaper route. Copies can be anywhere from $20 to $30. Whereas PS4 copies are skyrocketing in price. You could always download a Steam crack of it on PC as well, I guess, but it just bums me out how disposable the video game medium is treated. Devastation is an exceptional title and should be remembered as a standard for licensed games, but unfortunately, it's just not that easily accessible for a lot of people now. And that's a shame because if you're a Transformers fan, hell, if you're a fan of solid hack and slash games, you absolutely need to play Devastation.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in the sky.